Welcome, welcome, welcome to the show, mateys. Hope you're all having a nice evening out there and hope you're ready for a wonderful broadcast. My computer was not, however. My desktop that I normally live stream from in my office, decided it was going to do a Windows update for about a million hours. So it's still up there updating. And I was like, forget it. I will run the show from my laptop then. So, with that being said, I don't have all my normal buttons and I don't have everything set up the way I normally like. So, I apologize for any technical issues, audio being not matched as good as I normally have it matched. It's going to be a rough show, mateys. We're roughing it over here on the high seas of the digital information highway. But with that being said, I do have for you guys a ton of important information. So, welcome to the show. What's up there? I see Hoax Wars is in the chat. What's up, Hoax? For the glory of Christ, Marcana Beast. We got some of my favorite old school followers there in the chat. Hope you guys are having a wonderful evening. And cheers to you out there with our NASA Cup. That's right, we're talking aliens tonight, mateys. Look, they're out there. Jeffrey Epstein's like, don't look at me. Look, aliens. They're coming. Do anything but look at me and my friends. Look, there's aliens now. All right, so let's get into the wide variety of news that we have. Starting out with the Epstein photos. So Epstein.photos used facial recognition to identify more than 400 people who appear in the Epstein Files and mapped out their connections. 170 of them haven't been previously reported on in connection with Epstein. You can explore the data with our new website, Epstein.photos. As you can see there, this whole website's marked up. You got people like include co-founder of MTV, John Sykes, currently president of Entertainment Enterprises at iHeartMedia. He's shown in Epstein's private plane. His name is a flight log from 2004. Probably zoom in on this. Hold on. Bahraini Prince Sheikh Mohammed Al Khalifa showing a picture sent from Tancred Marchiolo to Epstein. Marchiolo wrote in October 2013 email to Epstein, I'm coming to Paris Monday and leaving Tuesday with the Prince of Bahrain. You in town? Epstein replied, Monday night free. We also found a picture of Google co-founder Sergey Brin on Guana Island, standing a few feet away from alleged sex trafficker Jean-Luc Brunel. Ghislaine Maxwell sent Epstein an email in December 2006. Sergey Brin and his girlfriend Anne, my friend, are going to stay at Guana. So there's plenty of people in here. You can see there's a ton of photos. And this is what they really don't want you talking about. They don't want you talking about who these people are, who they're connected to, or why they should all be investigated and probably be indicted for their, involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. But hey, we got other fish to fry as well. So with that being said, Epstein also has been found to still be using many online profiles. This is kind of interesting. Child sex trafficker still has accounts registered at Twitter X, Spotify, XNXX Porn, and Xvideos Porn. Jeffrey Epstein could have uploaded victims' evidence to these sites. Why are they still active? Why aren't they a part of the Epstein Files or the DOJ investigation? So you can see here, all these still have gvacation at gmail.com. Hold on, my face is now blocking things. gvacation@gmail.com is still active on all of these websites. These are still active accounts. I'm not saying they're being used. I'm just saying the accounts are still active. Another one that was interesting, and this goes back to the documentary I did about Jeffrey Epstein. This is Nadia Marchenkova, right? And you can see here, if I scroll up, I guess, hold on. Jeffrey Epstein's pilot on the Lolita Express, Nadia Marchenkova, goes missing in 2024 after she was deposed, and her files are redacted from the Epstein Files. Nadia Marchenkova was also running that aviloop.com company, right? Aviloop.com. And they were connected to Mark Epstein. And aviloop.com was running that very shady airplane company or whatever it was that was still active. And they had those like flight attendants and basically what looked like, what a girl would wear on Halloween is like a skimpy flight attendant outfit, like these like cheap flight attendant outfits, and they were very young looking, and they were posing that as like, you know, rent your favorite fly girl and all this. It was very, very strange stuff. If you go look into the Avi Loop stuff, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Grab a tyrant by the toe. Meeny, meeny, miny, mo. Grab a tyrant by the toe. Never bow to a bitch in a toupee. Yelling free speech, but controlling what the news say.
All right, so this young lady right here, Nadia Marchenkova, she is Jeffrey Epstein's, or was Jeffrey Epstein's pilot on the Lolita Express. She was also deposed about the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, and she pled to fifth 42 times. After that, she went missing in 2024. Not only did she go missing in 2024, but she's not since been unmissing, and her name has since been deleted from the Epstein Files. Check this out. If you go into Google and you type in her name, the exhibit pops up from the DOJ website, which lets you know that it definitely was a file in there. Like, it's not, we're not stretching here. But then when you pull up the link, there's nothing there. So I was like, well, let's go check it out on the archives and see if it's on the archives like it says it probably is. But then when I searched it there, same deal. So then I wanted to know from Grok, like, yo, what does it mean if they're deleting Epstein files? And Grok says that it just means that they're redacting stuff. They're just redacting things, don't worry. But they're definitely not just redacting things. These pages are gone. What gives?
Trying to hide the trail, obviously. Good find. And this is why I put that documentary together, so people could go see the things that were in it, and that stands as a documentary that keeps track of what all these people were up to, who was in these files, who was in, so that if they do try to redact things, you can still use my documentary as a reference. You can see here, Norwegian national Edward Jule Rod Larsen, who was named in the Epstein's files, has committed suicide. I wonder why that is. This guy, Edward Jule Rod Larsen. And then there is this that came out as well, Epstein, Barack, and Peter Thiel. And this is extremely interesting because of Peter Thiel's connections to Palantir. So when you hear all this, and then keep in mind, there's people out there trying to tell you that there's no Israeli connection to Jeffrey Epstein. Meanwhile, here's Ehud Barak on tape to, Palantir.
He thought there was two cyber companies. Look out, and even though I know Peter, I've never met Peter Thiel, and everybody says he sort of jumps around and acts sort of strange, like he's on drugs.
Smoking, yeah. He looks under drugs.
However, he has a company called Palantir, Pallen Tier. Palantir is Peter Thiel's company, and look out.
Palantir, Palantir?
Yes.
How you write Thiel? Thiellly?
Thiel.
Lly.
No, Thiell.
Okay.
So he thought that Peter would put you on the board of Palantir. Peter Thiel is one of the best. I've never met him. He's going to come here next week. So I wanted to talk to him after I talked to you.
Okay.
He and Andreessen, it's called Andreessen Horowitz. Andreessen Horowitz, they pay Larry $1 million a year. Just to advise them.
Andreas and?
Andreessen, Andreessen, and Horowitz.
And Howard.
Horo, Horowitz.
What they are? It's a lobbyist. What they are doing?
They are the biggest venture capital people in Silicon Valley.
What, bigger than Sequoia or Kleiner Perkins?
These are the new Kleiner Perkins. Everybody, these are the smart boys. Mm-hmm. So those two companies right away, in terms of, I said that we need now, in the next 3 weeks, if you're going to leave.
So there you go. There's Ehud Barak conversing with Epstein about Peter Thiel. And if you look at who was photographed at Bilderberg this year, yes, that's right. The Bilderberg group that no one talks about anymore is still meeting in secret, which is a violation of the Logan Act for U.S. politicians to go to this thing and should be considered treason because the Bilderberg group does not have the best interests of the United States. And here at it is what's his name? The guy who's a part of Palantir, CEO Alex Karp. And this is outside Bilderberg in 2026, right? And Palantir is now tied into all of the Pentagon, all of our unmanned warfare systems and things of that nature. The Palantir AI is like running our nuclear weapons program and all these things. And here's this asshole meeting at a secretive group that doesn't have the best interests of the United States in mind, one of these globalist agenda meetings at Bilderberg, right? And these people should all have been arrested for treason that go to this thing. Yet here is Alex Karp, who is now his company's heavily involved in running the United States defense. So once again, this is some sort of bankster run thing, right? Not good. And here is Thomas Massey, who they've now been trying to attack relentlessly. There's all types of attacks going on against this guy. And I'm not a Democrat. I don't like Democrat policies. But this dude is one of the people trying to uncover the Epstein stuff, and they're all attacking him. So when that's going on, I'm instantly on your side, even if I don't like the majority of your other policies. I am for Thomas Massey uncovering these Epstein creeps.
And ignored the Epstein Files and called them a hoax. But I'm not willing to do that. You know, I've met with the survivors. This is personal to me now. And so, you know, it's true that my political career is on the line, my political life, but my own health and well-being could very well be too. I've upset a lot of billionaires who obviously aren't of high moral character and have done some really shady stuff.
Right. So really shady billionaires try to kill me after I met Epstein survivors, Thomas Massey. But here's your boy, Dan Bongino, who left the FBI and decided that he would be better serving the United States by doing podcasts. Here's Bongino, come get your boy. You can see here, MAGA influencer Craig Long has been arrested after being caught in a human trafficking sting operation. And here is this dude posing with Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino was also a part of the Secret Service at a time when multiple Secret Service people died in a boat crash off of St. Thomas. And where they hit the rock was in between St. Thomas and Jeffrey Epstein's island. So he obviously doesn't even care about his other Secret Service members because their deaths was all covered up. And I have video of that whole location I'll be releasing sometime in the near future. I just have to put it all together and release it with all the articles and stuff that back up the story. But you can see, this guy doesn't give a shit about the country. He was clearly one of these people in there that didn't do anything to help resolve the situation. He was, I think, a part of the Bill Clinton detail back in the day or something like that. But Dan Bongino is obviously another one of these snakes in the grass. And here he is with this dude, Craig Long, who's just been arrested for human trafficking. Then we have these shills here, these Israeli firster shills like Libs of TikTok, who was there saying, oh, remember when Libs of TikTok pretended to release the Epstein Files, but it was complete bullshit and she lied to everyone. I remember. Here she is with the Epstein Files folder that never got released to the public, and they've just been slow dripping out stuff from it since then, right? But here they are posing with this crap. And she just happens to be super pro-Israel, by the way. And then here's Dana White. Is this normal to have artwork like this in your home? I noticed the same type of artwork in Epstein and John Phelan's homes. The butterfly is a symbol used by Epstein survivors, right? And Dana White's all tied in with all the Zionists and things like that. So there you go. He's got this dude, Dana White, weird artwork in his house. I think he's big down in Florida, right? I believe he is. And Florida is one of these like safe havens for these people like, oh, I don't know, Jeffrey Epstein, who had a house down there in, what was it, West Palm Beach? I believe that's where it was. I was actually the last person alive to film Epstein's mansion in Florida before they demolished it. You can see that video on my BitChute channel if you want to go check it out, or my Odyssey channel. I'm not sure I uploaded it to Rumble, but it's definitely on BitChute. And now let's get into the altered reality with the Trump time machine. Here we have a very interesting story that came out, and a lot of people have been talking about this online in regards to the recent assassination attempt at the, was it the media day or whatever nonsense thing that was? So I'll go through what was here. Time travel theory and the Trump assassination attempts for dummies. Your IQ's got to be over 85 to understand what I'm about to get into, okay? So for all those people out there, they have a lower than 85 IQ, most of my detractors being in that category, you're not going to get this, so just tune in later or something. We're in the year 2026. Yesterday, a person named Cole Allen tried to assassinate the President of the United States, Donald Trump, inside the White House. A Twitter account in 2023 wrote a single tweet under the name Cole Allen. That Twitter account belongs to Henry Martinez, a missing person. Martinez is a NASA scientist, a thing that sends rockets into space, also an airplane company that develops super secret military technology for the United States government. The background of Henry Martinez's account is a digital image from 2023 of a page called Time Machine. If we digitize that image, it's the photo from when they tried to kill Trump in 2024 and hit him in the ear. But instead of the shot in the ear is a hole in the middle of the head. Henry Martinez's profile picture that warns about Cole Allen is a green toad in a tuxedo holding a glass, just like Trump in yesterday's assassination attempt, which leads us to consider two possibilities. The first, it's a big psyop, operation to make the average mass of normal people believe something. The more troubling one, that this present is being modified from the future with messages in the past, which are not very complex clues right there in plain sight that can be identified once the events happen. That from the future, a group of scientists discovered time travel, possibly through a new dimension inside atoms, may be related to proton accelerators. They can only send some kind of basic information and leave it in places and times that those sending the message can't determine exactly. The reality we live in doesn't belong to us, possibly some big event like 2001, 2009 crisis, Trump's election, or the Iran-Israel war, which is why it seems so crazy. Or maybe this is all just a programmed, altered reality, and you're seeing that. And the only time that you notice that it's actually a altered reality is when they change something, right? If we're living in a digital simulation, as 50% of scientists say is a possibility, then if they change something in that, would you not notice the changes? Is that what the Mandela effect is, right? When people think they remember a different past, are you only noticing those changes because something changed and changed all of our reality with it? Just questions. Here is the Spasm of Violence card, an Illuminati card. The tablecloth is identical to this. Zoom in here, you'll get a better look of it. Hold on. Once again, I apologize for all the technical issues tonight. I'm not live streaming from my normal live streaming computer, where I have a better grasp on this stuff. Normally I have the chat up on the screen so I can follow the chat as I'm doing this and all that, but tonight I got the chat on my phone, this on the laptop. It's all a mess. But thank you to Windows Update for a stupid cumulative update. And because my desktop is like an older computer, it takes like hours upon hours to do cumulative updates for reasons unknown to me. So I'm going to have to get a new desktop computer to do live streaming. Because the one I got, it just never worked properly. It's always been too slow. I wanted to do video game live streams from it, but never worked because the video game would take up too much of the PC board, and it was just a big nightmare. I tried to upgrade it with a graphics card and all this stuff, but it just never was able to be fast enough. So it's getting thrown out. I'm going to take it outside and blow it up with a nuclear bomb or something. It's obviously a joke. Fox News is absolutely cooked after this clip here.
I want to just quickly tell you, I was sitting next to Caroline Levitt, the press secretary's husband. He was one of our guests. He was seated right next to me, and right as the dinner was starting, the national anthem happened, and then he kind of leaned over and said, I watched you on TV, you did a great job. You need to be very safe. And he was just very serious when he said that to me. And he kind of looked around the room and he said, there are some...
Off. Shut it down.
Sounds like we lost Aisha's phone there. And this happens, by the way, especially when you have so many people attempting to...
Yeah, this happens, by the way, when you're on Rupert Murdoch's Fox News. And Ann Murdoch happens to own Jeffrey Epstein's boat, the Lady Ghislaine, which is now called, the Dancing Hare. So you're never going to get the truth out of Fox News. That was never a possibility, okay? Fox News should have been cooked when it became public knowledge that Ann Murdoch bought Jeffrey Epstein's boat. Really trust Rupert Murdoch media? Come on. And of course, he wants a new ballroom. That would be BAAL, since that's who these people worship.
A particularly secure building. And I didn't want to say this, but this is why we have to have all of the attributes of what we're planning at the White House. It's actually a larger room, and it's much more secure. It's drone-proof, it's bulletproof glass. We need the ballroom. That's why Secret Service, that's why the military are demanding it. They've wanted the ballroom for 150 years for lots of different reasons, but today's a little bit different because today we need levels of security that probably nobody's ever seen before.
Yeah, they need security for their big golden statue of Baal they're going to put in there probably. Here's this Cole Allen dude. Shooter Cole Allen seen here on Instagram wearing an IDF sweatshirt before his profile was removed. Weird. Just like Jeffrey Epstein, also posing in an IDF sweatshirt. are the coincidences? You can see here, according to the internet, really, again, why were people in Israel searching Cole Allen as of 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, almost 12 hours before the Trump assassination? Interesting. Well, maybe, it's just one of those things. They like to search for Cole Allen a lot in Israel. It's a real popular name in Israel, Cole Allen. Not Sakina, goddess of the wall. How I want to help you so desperately. Cole Allen was registered guest at the Washington Hilton, confirmed by D.C. Police Chief Carroll. He was not shot, but taken to the hospital for evaluation. This is the picture of him in the ambulance. And once again, we live in a programmed reality, in my opinion. This is all a digital matrix, which means there's a creator for all of this that falls right in line with what the Bible says, which is someone made this reality that we live in, right? That there is a God and that God created all of this. And this is, when you die, you leave this existence and go somewhere else, right? But for now, we're locked in this digital matrix. And it's a very strange one. Interesting, no? Now, let's get into another quite fascinating thing I came across. And you're like, oh, here's the aliens. Finally. I knew he was going to get into the alien thing. So, someone built a community tracker explorer for U.S. government's recent Pursue Release 01, a batch of declassified UAP UFO related files. The link site organizes 161 entries, documents, images, videos, with searchable mapping, people, orgs, topics, etc. I found this quite fascinating to go through, honestly. I thought it was very interesting. My personal opinion about UFOs and things of that nature are majority of UFOs are military technology that's misidentified, and the military wants you to think it's UFOs so you don't identify it correctly as military technology. However, the very small percentage of ones that can't be explained by that, I believe, are, fallen angels, interdimensional beings, things of that nature. Now, obviously, if you look at this map here, the vast majority of these sightings on this thing are over in the Middle East. Just happens to be right where all of our U.S. military operations are undergoing, right? I mean, come on. Oh, wow. I wonder why there's a bunch of these things being seen over Iran and near Saudi Arabia and Iraq. when we've been at war in the Middle East for like 20 some odd years. So, of course, you're going to be seeing, unexplainable military technology when the military is probably like 50 years ahead of what they publicly disclose. I was saying a long time ago that they had direct energy weapon systems on satellite platforms, and people are like, "You're crazy. That can't be real. There's no way." And then, of course, the military is like, "No, no, don't have that. That's not true." And now it's just like, yeah, we have direct energy weapon systems on like every platform you could possibly imagine, turns out. And it's only like what, 20 years later that we're finding out about these things. But however, it doesn't mean that's what all of these are. So let's take a look at some of these here. I found some of these really fascinating, is like the NASA ones. So if you click here, this file contains an independent report on UFOs written by the French Association Cometa, previously published in French magazine. So that's not one of the more interesting ones. Let's go to some of the picture ones. Here's from Apollo 12. And they're talking about seeing things. They're seeing stuff like this. Now, either that is some sort of military operation, or that is something interdimensional. Every one of these things that you see is like a light, and in the Bible it says the fallen ones can appear as beings of light, or it's clearly like military tech in all of these things. That's what I'm seeing from these files, like over and over again. See here again, all this stuff here. And this is all on the surface of the moon. They're taking these photos. So this is all stuff from NASA, and NASA's claiming they don't know what it is. So, I mean, some of this stuff probably could be like interdimensional type beings or something, you know? And that's what they're saying. That's what the people like Anna Paulina Luna and people like that, these representatives that are getting, briefed on what these things are, that's what they're telling you they are. So when someone tells me something like that, I tend to believe it. I don't think there's any reason that they would say this kind of stuff. That's one I already showed you. But I mean, there's more around. So like if you go, they have like interesting videos. I found one of the ones with a video on it. Over here, you can see they're showing you like an image with this one. Or if you go, it's another image. Here's one of the video ones. They're tracking. So, I mean, some of these clearly, I think, are like military tech. They're just not able to disclose yet to the public. Like a lot of times people saw black triangle alien spaceships back in like the 70s and the 80s. And then those all turned out to be B 2 bombers. So some of this stuff is definitely, you know, not coming here. I don't think any of this thing is like, I don't think it's aliens coming here from some other planet, because in the history of mankind, whenever like human beings have discovered a new place, we conquered it. Like the Europeans came over, they found the Native Americans here. The Native Americans were savages. They were throwing people's heads around, playing lacrosse. And they were like, all right, we're going to conquer you. So I think if aliens came here, saw us doing what we do to each other on this planet, like they saw the Israelis bombing the shit out of every country around them and killing all their population off, I don't think the aliens would necessarily trust us and be like, oh, let's make friends with these people. No, they would just take over and invade, and it would be very obvious that some other planet was coming here. They wouldn't be like just leaving little lights in the sky and abducting, Uncle Carl to do experimentation on them. So obviously, I think these things are interdimensional, like fallen angels, demonic type stuff. Every like abduction account can be explained by the same thing as like, demonic possession type thing. All seems to be psychological. Because people are like, oh yeah, I was pulled out of my bed in the middle of the night. And my wife didn't even notice. Well, if some alien race came here and sucked you out of your bed through the wall, your wife would definitely notice you flying like out the wall. So this is all psychological. It's all demonic type activity and or military stuff going on that we just don't know about yet. But there's lots of like, FBI photo, 20 FBI photo, 19. You got stuff over here from Japan. Once again, there's lots of U.S. military bases in Japan. If I go full screen, you guys, it's going to not work, I don't think. You can see here the Japanese video. Yeah, people are saying in chat, I think it's military. I'm near Jacksonville, North Carolina, and I've seen some weird stuff years ago. Scared me, but I think it's just military stuff. Gina always VIP, 100% Titus, it's military. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my take on it. It's either military stuff, we can't, I think 99% of it is that. And then the 1% that you can't explain with that, I think is, you know, spiritual in nature, right? So that's my take on it. It's really interesting website though to go through. You have like all these reports, it's all laid out by like where in the world these things were seen. It's got this really cool interactive map. This is all in the show notes. You can also get there by going to UFOGPT2077.com. And again, I mean, if you take a look here, the vast majority of this stuff is right in where the U.S. military is operating the most. What does that tell you? That tells me that this is mostly military stuff going on. This is Arabian Gulf. The military's like, yeah, that's not us. That's aliens. Okay, sure, sure it is. I read this interesting book a long time ago. It was by Dale Brown, and it was about military aircraft that could take off from an airport, and then once they were up at altitude, they'd meet up with a tanker once it was in the air, and then it would fill up with a ton of fuel in air once it was already airborne, because the planes would need so much fuel that they couldn't take off the ground with all that fuel on board. But once they were at altitude, they could completely fill the tanks from those midair tankers. And then they could use that extra fuel to burn to go into outer atmosphere and then come back down. And then that way you could fly from somewhere in like the United States to the Middle East in a few minutes by having a plane that could go into low Earth orbit and then, come back down where you need to deliver operators. Fascinating book, stuff like that definitely probably exists. I read that book in the 90s, and the Dale Brown guy, if I'm correct, has like military background. So a lot of this stuff, though fictionalized into books and things, ends up becoming real in the future when people realize, oh yeah, they actually have all this technology. One of the odd ones is after a star-shaped UFO video was released, Representative Luna posted an image of the Ophanim, described as a class of celestial beings in the Book of Enoch. These ones I thought were kind of weird looking, obviously, especially since like the Book of Enoch talks about the Watchers and the fallen ones. Here you go. Here's this weird thing. I mean, this one, who knows? Maybe this is some sort of interdimensional type thing. Obviously, if this was coming here from like Alpha Centauri, we would all be crisp. It just would have wiped out everyone here and invaded, and you wouldn't be wondering if aliens were here. If these things were coming from some other planet, I'm sure we would all be at war with them, like War of the Worlds type scenario, right? That's just my opinion, but I don't see any point in history where that wouldn't be the case. And the people telling you, like, well, we're saying these are interdimensional are the ones that are releasing the information. So. And then we have this one here. Not sure what this is. Some sort of Pepe alien. This one you can't explain. This is definitely not military technology. I mean, what is that? Is that a flying Pepe? Interesting about the star one. Is this the same program we've seen in the past? Does kind of similar look like those ancient things. Another interesting thing about all those ancient things, they're very good at depicting people. Why is it that the dude in the chair is so much bigger than all the other people in the image? And why are there so many examples of giants from ancient history? And everyone's like, oh no, there's no way that's real. Meanwhile, I've seen all types of weird fossils that would lead to, yeah, there were giants at some point before the flood, right? I don't know. Seems to me there's a hell of a lot more evidence for giants pre-flood than there is for evolution in the fossil record. But that's just my take on it. I could be completely wrong, of course. And here you have the White House releases photo of a UFO that is strikingly similar to the spaceship used to send Superman to Earth in the 1978 blockbuster movie.
It's the only answer, Lara. If he remains here with us, he will die as surely as we will.
But why Earth, Jor-El? They're primitives, thousands of years behind us.
He will need that advantage to survive.
Those old Superman films are so much better than the modern ones made by that creep James Gunn, who can't make a movie to save his life. All his movies are complete shit. And then here, the documents declassified related to Area 51 show a humanoid with characteristics of a feline. And so they made this image based on the documents that were released, and they had AI. They were like, all right, we're constricting you to make this image and use the document to make it. According to the declassified documents, we're being visited by not Nick Fuentes cat boys, but alien cat girls. There you go. There she is. That's what's visiting us. Half the guys in the chat are like, oh well, that's fine by me. They can invade if they want. All right. So as all of this is going down, the government is now openly admitting to the fact that they are building a global defense system to deal with the threat of nuclear warfare. So this is a press release out of Space Force. Space Force-based interceptor program to counter growing speed and maneuverability of modern missile threats in support of the Golden Dome for America. So here they're talking about funding a low Earth orbit program to build interceptors in space to be able to wipe out incoming threats. So there you go. The stuff that I've been saying for a long time is now being declassified, and they're putting it out there and calling for more innovation. However, the Star Wars project, the SDI project, Strategic Defense Initiative, never went away. It just became the SDI-2 project. And you can see some of the companies in here that are already a part of this, like General Dynamics. I know for an absolute fact, and I'm not under any NDA where I can't discuss this, is that General Dynamics had satellites with directed energy weapon systems back in the 2000s when I first graduated college, and I sat down in a meeting with them to discuss these things. Okay? So I know for an absolute fact that these things already exist. Now they're just disclosing this type of stuff to the public. And they have Space Force, which, they used to poo-poo you and say, oh no, there was no such thing as military space programs, even though Gary Webb hacked in and found these things. And, they're very much been a thing for a very long time. I would say long before September 11th, 2001, they've had these things. Now you can see the global laser weapon wave. Oh, but you're a conspiracy theorist. You're a nut job, according to, people like Jason Burmis, if you believe in direct energy weapon systems. They couldn't have possibly used those on 9/11 because they didn't exist. Right. Just turns out less than 20 years later, they're putting these things on fucking everything across the entire planet. Financial Times reported Israel had sent a version of its 100 kilowatt iron beam energy laser weapon system to the UAE to help Abu Dhabi fend off hundreds of missiles and drones fired by Iran since the beginning of the U.S. military Operation Epic Fury. The FT notes the deployment is one of the first examples of major defense cooperation between the two countries since 2020 Abraham Accords, a display of the value of being Israel's friend, according to a regional official. Oh, so, Jewish space lasers are true. They really do have direct energy weapon systems. Weird. It didn't take long for that whole thing to get completely, it's not conspiracy anymore. Now it's conspiracy fact, right? There is little information publicly available on Iron Beam's performance in the UAE, but on May 7th, Defense Blog reported a Chinese-made vehicle-mounted laser weapon had been spotted at the Dubai International Airport, tentatively identified as consistent with the Guangzhou 21A system, first displayed at the Zhuhai Air Show in 2022. There is no announcement of the system's export from Beijing or acknowledgement of its arrival in the country from Abu Dhabi. So you can see here, Germany's Bundeswehr published an account of laser weapon testing at the WTD-91 range in Meppen, detailing 4 distinct systems at staggering readiness levels, including a Jupiter German-Dutch joint system integrated into a Boxer fighting vehicle and the naval demonstrator tested aboard the frigate Sachin that's headed for operational deployment by 2029. The Australian government announced plans to double its investment in counter-drone capabilities to $7 billion over the next decade, with initial $21.3 million to contract to AIM Defence to further develop its fractal portable high-energy laser system. Continuing on, Army Recognition reported that China's Novosti Technology was pitching its 3-kilowatt truck-mounted NIL-3K laser weapon at the Defense Services Asia 2026 Weapons Expo in Malaysia, designed as one of the last-line defense against drones. The company said the weapon was explicitly designed for export, the second such system to surface in as many weeks amid Beijing's increasing involvement in the global directed energy arms trade. So it's no longer a conspiracy, it's a global directed energy arms trade now. It's got to be in the hundreds of billions of dollars now, publicly. Even countries like Turkey. Turkey showed off multiple new laser weapons, namely Asalan's 10-kilowatt Gokberk 10 and Tubiktak's 20-kilowatt YGLS, purportedly scalable to 80 kilowatts. None of these countries have anywhere near the capability of the United States military. And you're telling me, the U.S. isn't way more advanced than what they're publicly telling everyone? I doubt it. The United States announced the Pentagon's Joint Interagency Task Force 401 had selected 5 military installations to participate in a directed energy counter-drone pilot program, a major step towards the formulation of a domestic laser dome to defend strategic assets and critical infrastructure. Operations are expected to begin later this year, following a 180-day period to finalize deployment plans with installation commanders. So, in March, the IDF acknowledged it was not using Iron Beam regularly during the U.S.-led war of Iran, despite the Israel Defense Ministry's December 2025 disclosure that the system had formally rolled out in the field. The gap between that announcement and the admission was 3 months, during which Iron Beam was simultaneously celebrated as a historic milestone and quietly sidelined from the conflict it was built to fight. Or was it? Or are they letting some of these things go? I mean, why wouldn't they be using it to defend themselves if they have it in place? Smell of a false flag, anybody? But hey, here's a completely unrelated video of the Florida Everglades, which is a marsh that's on fire. And the fire just so happens to be doing what happens in nature all the time, is following a completely straight line.
Everglades are on fire.
Nature works in straight lines. That's just a normal, completely non-related to direct energy weapon systems, straight line fire in the middle of a swamp. Because, swamps are pretty flammable. Totally normal. Nothing to see here. Happens all the time. Nature just makes things in straight lines in extremely not flammable areas like marshes. At the same time, we're on the edge of war with China and North Korea, as I've said many times. Right before the war with Taiwan, when China's going to invade Taiwan, North Korea is going to pop off. The North Koreans are going to try to drag 7th Fleet of the United States Navy up away from Taiwan, up towards North Korea, so that the Chinese can then invade Taiwan without having to worry about U.S. forces in the area, because U.S. forces will be up dealing with North Korea, which is a puppet state of China. And recently, North Korea has stated North Korea changed its nuclear policy law so that if Kim is killed or incapacitated by a foreign attack, a nuclear strike launches automatically and immediately, no further orders needed. That's totally normal behavior. That's great. Just if this dude dies, all of the North Korean nukes launch. Anyone feel safe? I mean, what happens if this dude, like, eats a hamburger and fucking chokes to death? Does that mean all the nukes then launch? It's absolutely insane policy. You know he's doing that because he's seen what's happened to Maduro and the Ayatollah, and he's like, oh shit, I'm probably next. I'm so lonely, oh so lonely. Nobody is really like me. If they kill me, I'm going to do them. Oh, Hodge Briggs. If that Donald Trump kill me, I'm going to nuke them. China has also been preparing for nuclear warfare. They're a far more dangerous threat. China's DF-41 ICBM can reach every U.S. state in under 30 minutes, carries up to 10 independent nuclear warheads, and deploys decoys to confuse missile defenses. It travels on 16-wheeled trucks through underground tunnel networks, making it almost impossible to track. And here is the DF-41.
Why the Pentagon is panicking over China's new ICBM. Meet China's DF-41. This monster of a missile is a solid-fueled road-mobile ICBM. That means it doesn't just sit in an underground silo. It constantly moves on massive 16-wheeled trucks, hiding in deep tunnel networks, ready to launch at a moment's notice. With a massive range of up to 15,000 kilometers, it can cover every single state in the USA. But here is the truly terrifying part. It doesn't just carry one warhead. The DF-41 can carry up to 10 independent nuclear warheads, flying at a blinding speed of Mach 25, striking completely different targets all at once. Plus, it drops fake decoys to completely confuse enemy missile defenses.
And at the same time, all this, saber rattling is going on. Chinese military scientists have been dying mysteriously as 11 nuclear and space experts die or go missing. So you have U.S. nuclear scientists dying and going missing, and you also have Chinese nuclear scientists dying and going missing. I don't know why, but none of this sounds good. Let's put it that way. Tim Dillon said that these people just happen to live too interesting of lives. And when you live too interesting of a life, the risk is that you wind up in the back of a CIA van with a head covering on, being vanished. Okay, so that may be true, but that's also kind of scary. Like, Why are their lives so interesting? What interesting things were they up to? And you can see another suspicious death of a scientist, NASA nuclear engineer Joshua LeBlanc, was found dead and burned beyond recognition in his Tesla. And this is why I've said self-driving cars, cars with massive lithium batteries that burn for days, none of this is a good idea, especially if you talk badly about the powers that be. I wouldn't suggest buying any of those things. I would stick to more conventional gasoline cars that don't have all this electronic shit. And even if you're not a nuclear scientist, I would still suggest that because those cars suck. And all that goes wrong in cars is mostly electronics, right? Car data shows he was at the airport for 4 hours before he died, but his family says he wasn't scheduled to fly and believe he was abducted.
Joshua LeBlanc grew up in New Iberia, but he was working in Huntsville at NASA as an electrical engineer. His family reported him missing earlier this week. His car was found Tuesday afternoon, 2 hours away from his home, with no signs of him anywhere. Joshua LeBlanc was well known in New Iberia, where he graduated from Catholic High and later attended and graduated from UL Lafayette. His family tells me he last communicated with them at 4:32 a.m. Tuesday. They also told me he never showed up for a job that he loved that morning as well. What we do know about his disappearance is this. Alabama authorities did track his blue Tesla Model 3. According to the Tesla car data, it stopped for 4 hours at the Huntsville International Airport, which is about 12 minutes from his apartment. The data shows his car left the airport, traveled west on Alabama back roads before crashing in Florence, Alabama. Tuesday, 2 p.m., the car was discovered and a body inside, but the body was found burned beyond recognition, according to family members. But the case has only raised more questions. LeBlanc's phone, his personal belongings, and even his dog were all left behind in his Huntsville apartment. Family members say the detour and disappearance don't match anything Joshua had planned for that day, and now they believe he may have been abducted from his home.
Yeah, by the CIA or something. Another thing that's been going on is the Chinese are absolutely preparing for war with the United States. And one of the ways they're doing this is through clamping down on critical metals. China's grip on 3 critical metals is quietly reshaping the cost of every round of ammunition manufactured in the West, and the gun trade needs to pay attention. Over the past 18 months, Beijing has imposed sweeping export controls on tungsten, bismuth, and antimony. The price moves that followed are historic. Tungsten up over 200% in 2025. China controls 81% of global supply and now licenses every export. APT exports fell nearly 70% on year. TSS and tungsten composite shot prices are following. Bismuth up nearly 700% in the US at its peak. It traded at $3.89 a pound in January 2024. By March 2025, American buyers were paying $55 a pound. China controls 80+% of global refined supply, and the US hasn't produced primary bismuth since 1997. The Pentagon has since issued an emergency solicitation for 5 million pounds of domestically produced material. Antimony, the hardener that puts performance into conventional lead ammunition, up 157% from mid-2024 to mid-2025, hitting 57,000 a ton. China banned antimony exports to the U.S. entirely in December 2024. Their exports to the U.S. had already dropped 97% in the months prior. This isn't a trade war side effect, it's a deliberate strategy. China is restricting these materials because they serve 3 purposes Beijing wants to control: defense manufacturing, semiconductor production, and often overlooked, tungsten carbide drill bits are the primary tool used to mine rare earth elements. Constrain the drill bit and you slow the competition for the minerals that will define the next century of technology. And this is all as China is preparing to invade Taiwan by no later than 2027, according to a bunch of military experts. China has also copied the F-35 you can see here, around May 5th, 2026, Chinese state media, including CCTV, unveiled the first export variant of the J-35A stealth fighter, often referred to as the J-35AE. So China not only copied it, they're now
China has
exporting
unveiled
these to compete with U.S. exports.
The first export variant of its fifth-generation J-35A stealth fighter. The J-35A is a multi-role aircraft designed for air superiority, strike missions, and suppression of enemy air defenses. Marked with the Aviation Industry Corporation of China logo and serial number 001, and lacking PLA insignia, the aircraft appears intended for international buyers. Key specifications: length and wingspan, 17.3 meters and 11.5 meters. Combat range, 1,200 kilometers. Service ceiling, 16,000 meters. Top speed, Mach 1.8, around 2,222 kilometers per hour, reportedly faster than the F-35 Lightning II. Avionics, radar-absorbent materials, AESA radar, and an electro-optical targeting system. Armament, up to 6 medium-range air-to-air missiles, for supersonic air-to-surface missiles, and either 30-wing mounted bombs or 8 deep penetration bombs. The J-35A is China's second land-based fifth-generation fighter, and Pakistan is widely considered a likely buyer, based on reports and analysis.
So they're exporting this to all the Belt and Road nations, which is continuing the Belt and Road wars. And of course, the main thing that China needs for the Belt and Road is for Taiwan to fall, and they need to invade Taiwan. They're going to do so according to everything I've heard. I mean, you have to understand, I have high up military contacts. I talk to people at the Naval War College. I talk to underwater warfare people. I'm connected to some of the highest people in the U.S. military. I have lieutenant colonels in my workplace all the time. Like, the last couple days, I've had high up military people in my office. I know a thing or two, okay? That's what I'm telling you, and this shit is going down. All of the military is preparing for the invasion of Taiwan. They all know it's coming, and it should be stopped before it happens. They're trying to turn the Taiwan Strait into a hellscape with AUVs, USVs, and drones to try to deter the Chinese from doing this. But the Chinese are building their ships as fast as you can possibly imagine. I can't believe it hasn't happened already. You know, every day the Chinese wait, the more the deterrence goes up. However, the Chinese are not exactly sitting on the sidelines of this Iran conflict. You have to remember, China gets a ton of its oil from Iran. Something like 30% of the Chinese oil supply, of which they have none domestically. They have to import all of the oil to China. They have a ton of raw earth minerals. They have no oil. And China's car industry is growing rapidly. Like 40 years ago, they were all riding around on bicycles. Now they buy more cars annually than like all of Europe and America combined. Okay? So they need oil. They need oil badly. And Iran is one of the biggest places that sends oil to China. So this whole Iran conflict, never mind the Venezuela conflict, has really crushed oil being shipped to China. China's even had to resort to buy oil from the U.S. recently because they're running out of oil. As you know, Iran's out, Venezuela's out, and they can only buy so much from Russia, right? Which just furthers the whole Belt and Road Initiative of the world bankers. Like, they're just forcing Russia and China together. China is now completely reliant on Russian oil. But they're also still allied with Iran, and you can see they're not exactly staying out of this whole thing. Iran secretly acquired a Chinese spy satellite in 2024, giving it the ability to monitor U.S. bases. An FT investigation has found, according to leaked Iranian military documents, the IRGC used Chinese-built TEE-01B satellite to monitor U.S. bases in Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Bahrain, and Iraq before and after missile and drone attacks, received access to Beijing-linked ground station network. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, aerospace force reportedly acquired a Chinese Earth observation satellite in late 2024 after it was already launched into space from China in what was called an in-orbit delivery deal. According to the Financial Times, leaked Iranian documents show that it bought the TEE-01B Earth observation satellite in 2024 from Earth ICO, a Chinese commercial aerospace company dedicated to advancing the export of China's commercial space industry. It also received access to commercial ground stations located in China through EMPOSAT, a satellite ground station services provider that allowed the IRGC to control its satellite remotely. This gave the country the ability to capture satellite imagery at a resolution of 0.5 meters. By comparison, Iran's existing Nor-3 satellite was only capable of 5-meter resolution, while the older Nor-2 delivered 12 to 15 meters. The TEE-01B's higher resolution allowed the IRGC to identify individual aircraft and ground vehicles, as well as use it to see infrastructure details. In fact, the leaked data included logs that showed satellite image capturing images of various U.S. bases in the Middle East, with some of them being hit by drone strikes soon after. So the Chinese are giving the Iranians the ability to strike U.S. bases with extreme accuracy during this Iran-United States war. You can see some of the images on the screen here. There's the satellite. Here's another one of the satellite imagery things. So the Chinese are actively helping Iran kill American soldiers in this conflict and attack our U.S. military bases. This is already, as I've been saying, a world war. One of the places where the Chinese are, extremely concerned about is their own version of the Strait of Hormuz, which is the Strait of Malacca. Hormuz gets all the attention, but the Strait of Malacca is the one that keeps Beijing up at night. It's the world's busiest maritime choke point, narrowing to just 1.7 miles at its tightest point. In the first half of 2025 alone, 23.2 million barrels of oil per day passed through the Strait of Malacca. Okay? The Chinese have been doing everything they can to monitor the Strait of Malacca. They've been, some Philippine fishermen picked up a AUV underwater vehicle, also a Chinese listening device in the Strait of Malacca. They keep accidentally picking these things out instead of catching fish. The Chinese are, advancing their underwater warfare capabilities dramatically. With that being said, we are now in the drone wars. World War III will be fought mostly with unmanned warfare. Here's a UGV carrying and launching fiber optic UAVs. Well, let me, no. I'm trying to do something here. At the computer. There you go. Blow this up a little bit so you can see the video a little bit better. There we go. It's about perfect. So it's a UGV carrying and launching fiber optic UAVs. Here we have a machine gun drone. And as I say, these aren't exactly super accurate just yet, but the future of warfare is increasingly becoming something out of a dystopian sci-fi novel. So you can see here, it zooms in. There's the drone. It's equipped with a heavy machine gun, just blasting away, dropping ordnance. This is in the Ukraine war, which has turned into a testing ground for all these unmanned warfare systems. The banksters love this crap. Future is looking quite scary, honestly. And here's a video of the Ukraine war. Again, the world's first real unmanned war. And here you have a USV attacking a Russian ship far, far away from Ukraine. So these things have massive ability to strike far distances away with extreme precision. They're very hard to detect underwater or above water. Ukrainian USV successfully struck 2 Russian oil tankers in the port of Novorossiysk, or whatever the fuck it's called. I don't know. Here it is, sneaking up behind the oil tanker, packed with explosives right in the nose cone. And that's the last you see of it. Goes in, blows the thing up. Here's a Ukraine mothership that was downed. So this is a UAV that flies along with these smaller drones on its wings, and then it launches those smaller drones off for precision strikes. It's carrying 2 FPV drones attached to its wings and what looks like Starlink on it. So thanks for watching there in the chat. Some people are saying it's late and they got to go to bed. Totally acceptable, but you are required to come back and watch the end via replay in the morning or during your break or tomorrow night. But thank you very much for watching. I tried to start a little bit earlier than normal tonight at 9 so that more people could tune in, but perfectly acceptable since it is late for people if you have to come back and watch in the morning. But thank you very much for watching live, everyone that is here and everyone that's staying. Here we have nets being put up in Ukraine. Ukrainians putting up anti-drone netting along key supply roads in Donetsk. Did you ever think in warfare that this was going to be a thing? I guarantee you 20 years ago, you weren't like, yeah, in the future, war is going to be decided who has the best nets over their supply roads. It's absolutely insane. Modern warfare is absolutely nuts. Here we have, it's like scoring a goal, how Ukraine's cheap drones take out Shaheeds. Sting interceptors have an impressive strike rate and the cost of a fraction of the price of Russian drones. Now Ukraine has a dilemma. Should it export these to other countries? Yes. You should export these to other countries, of course. Here's a Sting taking out a Shaheed. You can see the Shaheed right there in the center of the frame. That's the end of that one. Unmanned war against unmanned war. It's absolutely crazy out there. And here's a USV. These things are faster than an Apache helicopter. Check out this. Unmanned warfare is accelerating faster than Apache. Highly maneuverable, unmanned modern war. You got bored of beating other drone boats, so decided to drag race an Apache gunship during a recent trial. Look at this thing. Not only is it a cool video, it is a very cool piece of technology. These things are bombing across the water. No one on board. These things are all run either through AI or remote operators. It's unbelievable. You'd see here from one of these new big defense contractors, Anduril. Unmanned warfare is accelerating across all domains, leading us to a very different world than we grew up in. From Anduril, if you see the Copperhead coming, it's already too late. First public footage of Copperhead 500M swimming, which means 500 meters deep. During the test, the 21-inch Just check this thing out. Now try to detect that thing underwater. Good luck. The future of warfare is unmanned vehicles. Check out this vehicle becoming more popular for full-on Skynet takeover. California firm Saildrone is heading deeper into naval operations with a new long-range unmanned surface vessel designed to hunt submarines. Here you go. These Saildrone things are incredible. They sail along with these huge sail wings on top of them. They can also be powered. They're very, very quiet because they're just sailing along most of the time. They're already using these for coastal defense across the United States, and this is going to continue. It's huge. It's got, missile systems on board, the ability to detect underwater vehicles. I mean, warfare is completely changed. Completely changed. You're out there in the middle of the ocean, you see one of these things, you're going to be like, what the hell is that? But hey, you might not have to go out to the middle of the ocean to see what's happening. Here is your new Walmart greeter. Robots coming to take your Walmart greeter jobs. Look at this thing. Yep. Be more and more robotics, more and more AI takeover. This is the future that we're moving into. The mark of the beast system, where this is going to be what's serving you in the grocery store and saying, oh, you don't have the mark? Well, you can't buy any groceries. You can't buy at Walmart. Greeting denied. Google's pushing their crap onto you. I don't know if you knew this, but do you understand what just happened to your computer? Yes, Windows sent up some sort of ridiculous update, and now my computer's not working. But also, if that wasn't enough, Google Chrome secretly downloaded a 4 gigabyte AI model onto your device without asking, without telling you. It's called Wait Stop Bin. It lives deep in your system's folders. It powers Gemini Nano, Google's on-device AI. And if you delete it, Chrome re-download it automatically like nothing happened. Google is deciding your hard drive is their storage unit. At 1 billion Chrome users, that's 4 billion gigabytes of data pushed silently across the internet. The carbon footprint equals tens of thousands of cars running for a year. So at the same time, all these billionaires are like, oh, you need an electric car. They're sending out thousands, like just unbelievable amounts of data to everyone without asking. And they're like, oh yeah, this is fine. You can't drive your car, but we can just send out these updates to your system and put this shit on your computer storage. Of course. And IBM here, this is why I think some of this is like satanically derived. I mean, it's hard not to think that when they're doing shit like this. Here's IBM blatantly done right in our faces. Michael and Susan Dell celebrate $750 million donation to UT for a new medical center.
Yeah, no, I rebuke whatever that is.
Funny, but also, I know you're going to be like, oh, it's the Longhorns, University of Texas Longhorn, whatever. No, come on now. Bunch of Illuminati Satanists. And you're like, all right, Titus, you've gone too far. Well, how about this? Normies, Come on, you think the billionaire elitist class wants to kill 95% of humanity and turn the remainder into mind-controlled slaves? Show some proof that sensationalist claim. Anons. How about Rockefeller family's U.S. patent for remote modulation of cellular activities using ferritin nanoparticulate composites, which utilizes radio frequency waves to stimulate injected nanoparticles like mRNA-based systems inside the body, enabling remote control management of cellular function. Interestingly, I was playing Cyberpunk the other day, and in it, there's a whole scenario where you're doing a thing for a politician, and you find out in the politician's house is a secret room. And in that room is a whole spy center that the politician was unaware of. And that spy system is linking out to a van. So you go out to the van, you track it down, and it turns out on the van is the data about what they're doing to the politicians, which is using, frequency to alter the politicians' memories and change their personality. And that because the politician, had refused the big corporations and, these big defense companies being their puppet, they decided they would just hack their brains and change their personalities, delete their memories, implant new ones, and make them do what they want anyways. So now we move on to the war in Iran. All wars are banker wars. Someone placed a $920 million crude oil short at 3:40 a.m. 70 minutes later, Axios reported the U.S. and Iran were close to a deal. Oil dropped 12%. Trade made $125 million in profit. Minutes after that, Iran launched the Persian Gulf Strait Authority, and oil surged 8%. 760 million placed before Trump's last announcement, 900 million placed before this one. Every major announcement is front run by someone who knew it was coming. What kind of war is this? This is more like a trading desk with an army. Never stop connecting the dots. Okay? And that's why they say all wars are banksters' wars, because that's who's profiting off of these things. Two trades, two announcements, the pattern. And, these are the same people running society that stole trillions of dollars and no one did anything.
2008.
So here you go. 2008. This is why, Bitcoin was created to counter these people, because they're sick and they steal all types of money from us. I went to the grocery store tonight and bought eggs, bacon, a couple of extra items, some, multivitamins, and some Pepsid AC, and just basic stuff. It was $180 for 2 bags of groceries. I didn't buy any dinners. All I bought was basically breakfast for a couple days and some basic other stuff like milk, And I have a household of 5. I got 3 kids. Grocery prices have become so fucking insane. It's unbelievable. And the boomers are like, pull yourself up by the bootstraps and all this bullshit. When the boomers were buying groceries for the kids still living with them, groceries weren't unbelievably ridiculously priced. It's gone insane. And what have these fucking bankers done for us? They stole trillions of dollars. They overprinted the currency to an insane level where you can't even buy a friggin' bag of groceries without spending $100. I mean, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. It's become unbearable. And in my town, you get a load of this one. This week, I put out about 3 trash bins a week. They've now decided in my town that you have to only put out 1 trash bin per week, which they just dropped off at my house today. Oh, here's your 1 trash bin you get to put out a week. And if you want to have excess trash, like oh, I'm not one of the retired old boomers who lives with just one other person in the house. I actually happen to have a fucking family living here, you know? Well, then you got to pay $2.50 a bag and you have to drive your trash to the dump. Like, I have time to be going to the dump every week with excess trash. When for the last 50 years, they've just taken, you put out 3 barrels, they take the 3 barrels. But no, to save the fucking environment, we now have to only put out 1 barrel a week. And if you don't like that, then you have to bring your excess trash and pay per bag to get rid of it. It's fucking insane. And of course, the people making all these decisions are a bunch of retired boomers that fucking suck. They're like, oh, I remember fucking people in Woodstock in a pile of shit. So now let's fuck everyone else. It's unbelievable.
2008, $3.2 trillion was stolen by a banking and financial system that lives on drug money and gambling, and we know the results of that. Instead of cowering in fear, awaiting a mob to hang them and kill them and their families and pitchfork them, instead of that, they paid themselves bonuses and laughed. And America, you put up with it. And went, okay. You put up with it. Don't have to pay a cent back. You bailed out, and they paid themselves bonuses. And when it was raised, they said, I have to pay bonuses or else I won't get the best people. You mean the best gambling, drug money laundering pieces of shit? Oh no, what a tragedy. What a tragedy. No justice, 2008, and all the deaths and dying and suffering and all the rest that went along with it. And then, of course, we have the Pentagon, still no audit. It was $3.4 trillion when Rabbi Dov Zakheim was the comptroller, and good old Donald Rumsfeld on September the 10th, 2001 said, we are going to audit the Pentagon. The next day... Sir.
So recently, the U.S. has moved 115,000 tons of military equipment into Israel since the Iran war began. 403 flights, 10 ships, 2 more cargo ships docked this morning with another 6,500 tons. At this pace, the U.S. is running a permanent supply chain for a regional war with no end.
משרד הביטחון מפעיל בכל רגע נתון עשרות רבות של...
Dude is speaking absolute gibberish. No one understands that. Later, he's going to go hump some wall. Iran at 90% operational still. So this is going well. U.S. military intelligence assesses that Iran has regained access to roughly 90% of its missile storage and launch facilities, which are now partially or fully operational. Shrink it down just a bit. Yeah, I see what you're saying. All right, there you go. The F-5 story. What happened on the second day of the Iran war is deeply shocking. Iranian F-5 jets, so old they date back to the Shah era, somehow slipped through advanced U.S. air defenses and struck Camp Bayring in Kuwait. The F-5's tiny radar cross-section fooled the system.
In newly revealed details, what unfolded on March 1st, the second day of the Iran war, is deeply shocking. Reports indicate that Iranian F-5 fighter jets launched from Vadadi Tactical Air Base 4 in western Iran on what appeared to be a one-way strike mission targeting Camp Bayring in Kuwait, a major U.S. military base. And that is what makes this story so extraordinary. The F-5 is an aging, heavily modified fighter, long regarded as obsolete in modern warfare. On paper, these jets should have been easy prey, too old, too exposed, too outclassed to survive inside heavily defended, contested airspace. But war does not always follow the script. These obsolete F-5 jets pulled off one of the boldest and most daring strike missions of the modern era. And here's how. One crucial detail may have made the F-5 nearly invisible: its small, compact radar signature. Air defense systems built for larger jets may have misread it as a small civilian aircraft or even a Shahed drone. The F-5 kept pushing toward its target, and despite advanced missile defenses being fully active, it still delivered a devastating strike on Camp Buehring, a major U.S. base in Kuwait, and finally shot down or rammed into the base as its fuel was enough for only one-way trip. And then panic spread. In the chaos that followed, Kuwaiti air defenses mistakenly shot down 3 American F-15 fighter jets in a friendly fire incident, apparently mistaking them for another wave of Iranian attackers.
Thus, warfare never goes exactly how the people think it's going to go. They always overestimate their technology and underestimate the enemy. It happens all the time, and then chaos ensues. However, an explosion occurred in a building in Iraq, the site of Iran's nuclear industry center and heavy industrial base. The building has been completely destroyed. On May 11th local time, Iran's Far News Agency reported that an explosion occurred in a building in Iraq, Iran. So you can see there, this place is strategically in the center of Iran. It's a big nuclear facility where they make heavy water, and it got absolutely smoked. Now, with that, there is the possibility of an operation to retrieve Iran's nuclear capabilities. Possibility of operation to retrieve Iran's enriched uranium appears to rise as negotiations sputter. President Donald Trump on Monday alluded to U.S. sending troops into Iran to retrieve its highly enriched uranium. His comments fell similar words on the same topic from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made the 60 Minutes on Sunday. Taken in aggregate, the statement suggests that there is a coordinated messaging on the issue between Washington and Jerusalem, and after stalled talks with Iran, the possibility of such an operation may have been elevated. As we stated shortly after the war kicked off, a mission into Iran to rid the country of its highly enriched nuclear material once and for all would be extremely risky and very complex. You can read more about these realities in this article linked. The main issue is that by the Trump administration's own stated objectives, the current conflict doesn't really end until the enriched uranium, most of which is likely buried in the rubble in the underground Isfahan nuclear complex, is removed from the country. Estimates state that the stockpile, stored in scuba tank-like cylinders, is likely enough material to construct around a dozen nuclear warheads. That is, if a program to fully weaponize it, construct, and validate a device were to move forward. See here.
And they said to me, just to put it on the record, they said to me, there are only 2 countries in the entire world that could ever get that stuff out of there because we don't have the equipment and nobody else. They said China and the United States. So I just want to let you know, those pilots did an unbelievable job, very dangerous job, at 1 o'clock in the morning. Think of it. No moon, no nothing. We had no light, purposely. And every single one of those bombs were right down an air chute in a granite mountain that exploded. And they are unable to get it, even if they wanted to. But we're not going to take a chance, so that's part of the deal.
So, sir, are you saying that Iran agreed to allow the removal of all their enriched uranium?
Yeah. Well, they did 2 days ago. They didn't, okay? They did 2 days ago. They said, you're going to have to take it. We were going to go with them, but they changed their mind because they didn't put it in the paper. So when they sent us this document that we waited 4 days for, that should have taken 10 minutes to do, look, very simple. We get that. They guarantee no nuclear weapons for a very long period of time, and a couple of other minor things, but they just can't get there. So they agree with us, and then they take it back. But they said to us that it was so badly obliterated, was the word they actually used. That was my original word. Then it got challenged by some of the fake news. And it wasn't challenged with any knowledge. It was just challenged like they were hoping that this wouldn't have been so successful. No, it was obliterated. We have the greatest military in the world. I built it largely in my first term, and I didn't know I'd be using it quite this much in my second term. But very simply, when they say, does he have a plan? Yeah, I have a plan. The plan is very simple. You know, in war, you have to change. You have to be flexible. You have a lot of plans, but you have to do different plans in different days. But I have a great plan. But the plan is they cannot have a nuclear weapon. And they didn't say that in their letter.
Mr. President.
They said I didn't have a plan. It's the greatest plan. He's so funny. He's such a character.
Where are we in the war if we've not yet gotten the nuclear materials, the enriched uranium from them?
Well, we'll get that at some point, whatever we want. We have it surveilled. You know, I did a thing called Space Force, and they are watching that if somebody walked in, they can tell you his name, his address, the number of his badge. No, we have that very well surveilled. If anybody got near the place, we will know about it, and we'll blow them up. We'll blow them up.
Is the war with Iran over? And if it isn't, who will decide when it is?
I think it accomplished a great deal, but it's not over because there's still nuclear material. Enriched uranium that has to be taken out of Iran. There's still enrichment sites that have to be dismantled. There's still proxies that Iran supports. There are ballistic missiles that they still want to produce. Now, we've degraded a lot of it, but all of that is still there, and there's work to be done.
How do you envision the highly enriched uranium will be removed from Iran?
You go in and you take it out.
With what? Special forces from Israel? Special forces from the United States?
Well, I'm not going to talk about military means, but what President Trump has said to me, I want to go in there. And I think it can be done physically. That's not the problem. If you have an agreement and you go in and you take it out, why not? That's the best way.
What if there isn't an agreement? Can it be taken out by force?
Well, you're going to ask me these questions. I'm going to dodge them because I'm not going to talk about our military possibilities, plans, or anything of the kind.
And I'm just trying to get at how long is it going to take to achieve that aim?
I'm not going to give a timetable to it, but I'm going to say that's a terrifically important mission.
The Israeli government wants Trump to order a special forces operation to secure Iran's enriched uranium stockpile. Israeli officials say Trump is hesitant to order such an operation because it is highly risky. I have an idea. Why don't the fucking Israelis do it? Why don't you send in, Mossad to go do this? Or why don't you gather up all these fucking online influencers and send them in to do it? Send Tim Pool in there. UAE got hit recently. Iranian drones have struck the Fujairah oil industry zone in UAE. Major fire now burning on site. Fujairah is not a random target. It's UAE's primary oil export on the Gulf of Oman, the only major UAE port that bypasses the Strait of Hormuz. And let's go ahead and crush the Israeli narratives that are promulgated online. Now, I don't have any problem with Israel defending itself. It's a country now. We can debate all day long about, was it created justly? Were they doing all types of horrific shit to get that country created in the first place? That's a completely different argument. The country now exists, has some right to defend itself. I don't dislike Jewish people. That's all a bunch of bullshit lies. I'm not anti-Semitic at all. I have, friends that live in Israel, things like that. I don't like the Likud cult that runs Israel. I'm not a fan of Benjamin Netanyahu. And I think they go way too far in their, they're not defending themselves when they demolish all of Gaza and turn it into, a new casino land for the Kushners to run. You know what I mean? Like, this is completely unacceptable how they treat the Gaza people, how they influence American politics with blackmail. All of that is completely unacceptable. And you can see this here. One of the most brutal scenes in human history has been leaked. An Israeli soldier filmed this clip using a drone camera while proudly boasting about the destruction of all homes in Gaza, a moment the world must never forget. And see here, look what they did to this city. Completely demolished it. That's not self-defense. That is destruction of an entire country. This is genocide. That's what you're looking at. It's unbelievable. Like, every square inch of the place. And now they're going to go and rebuild it and turn it into like of Las Vegas in the Middle East. I mean, it's crazy when you look at it. It's completely demolished. How many children died in this? An unbelievable amount. It's sickening. And then you get these people that you're like, oh, how dare you criticize Israel? Well, look what they've done. If any other country on earth did this shit, they would be getting ridiculed left, right, and center. But no, because it's Israel, if you question this shit, somehow you're anti-Semitic, even though that's total bullshit. Because Semite means, descendant of Shem, which includes the Palestinian people. And here's Israel firing on civilians. One of the most horrifying and brutal scenes ever captured in modern history. Israeli soldiers fired on thousands of starving Palestinians in Gaza as they ran in desperation trying to get a piece of food during the war in Gaza. Another moment the world must never forget. And these people will call you all these names if you criticize this, yet the real truth is the evil people are the ones that are not criticizing this. If you don't stand up for these poor innocent victims that were starving, who the hell are you? Israel is now openly calling it the Gaza model in Lebanon. 2,600 dead, over 1 million displaced, dozens of towns near the southern border completely flattened, a several-mile deep buffer zone Israel says it plans to permanently occupy, which is exactly what I said this was all about. I've said in the Belt and Road Initiative, this is all about the expansion of Greater Israel, because the Belt and Road, as long as they continue to expand Israel into the Greater Israel footprint, the Belt and Road turns Israel into the center of trade and technology for the entire Eurasian supercontinent, where you have Asia, Africa, and Europe all as one block. Right in the dead center of that, where they have all the roads, all the fiber optic cables, is Israel. Southern Lebanon. Deliberate destruction of civilian infrastructure, just so they can justify moving in and taking it over. They'll claim, oh, it was all Hezbollah, right? Well, the thing about Hezbollah is not just like a militant group. It is literally a political party in Lebanon. It's not just like terrorists or something. It's all like average people, right? Hezbollah was created in response to the Israeli invasion of Lebanon. So they're like, oh, well, there's these people that resist us. Let's destroy all of southern Lebanon and then occupy it. And, you have APAC, which is completely ridiculous. As Ian Carroll says, the time of the month again where Israel brags openly on the internet how good they are at buying out American elections in support of a foreign nation. AIPAC congratulates 22 endorsed pro-Israel candidates on their primary victories tonight in Ohio and Indiana, bringing the total to more than 70 AIPAC-backed candidates advancing to the November general election. Like, if this was Italy, if this was the Italians being like, oh yeah, 70 of the candidates are funded and controlled by Italy, you would have a problem with that. I would have a problem with that. Everyone would have a problem with that. But somehow, because this is a foreign country that's controlling our elections, somehow you're not allowed to criticize it because they hump some wall regularly. I mean, what the fuck is this shit? Can't criticize them, though. It's not possible. As Owen Benjamin put it here, Shane crushed this. If you don't support Israel and what they're doing, you, quote, hate Jews, even though that's not true at all. I don't support what China does. Doesn't mean I hate all Chinese people. It means I don't like the leadership of China. I don't like the Communist Party. Does it have nothing to do with your average Chinese person who's actually just like the rest of us. They care about their family and they care about putting food on the table and having enough money to survive. That's what the average Chinese person is. That's what the average Israeli citizen cares about. They don't want to get killed by some bomb coming through the Iron Dome. They want to feed their family and they just want to live their life. But of course, all these countries are run by banksters and a bunch of satanic pedophiles, and communist fucking puppets. So of course, if you criticize any of that, you're bad or whatever. I mean, who cares what these people say at this point when they're bombing entire countries and killing countless children? Do you really care what they call you?
Your favorite leaders making the draft mandatory, I assume that all of you will be signing up to go fight in Iran. Or do you tough-talking pussies only go to the Middle East for comedy festivals?
Chelsea is a Zionist. I'm not saying that's good or bad. Speaking of dead kids, she's a big fan of abortions. Chelsea's been scraped more times than the grill at Benihana. Speaking of tossing tiny shrimp into a child's mouth, Chelsea Handler went to dinner at Jeffrey Epstein's house in 2010. It's just a fun one. You can look it up. There's articles. It wasn't like a big party. There was like 7 people there. And it was like Prince Andrew and Woody Allen were there.
And Shane, just so you know, Judaism and Zionism are 2 different things. Kind of like how Chinatown and Koreatown are 2 different things, but your favorite slur works in both places.
Oh, so we're okay to criticize Zionism then? Good. Free speech. His cunt wife is actively pissing on his life's work. Erica Kirk is this generation's Courtney Love. Accurate. Charlie Kirk here said, hate speech does not exist legally in America. There's ugly speech, there's gross speech, there's evil speech, and all of it is protected by the First Amendment. Keep America free. Couldn't agree more. And here is Netanyahu's security guard. Benjamin Netanyahu, former personal security guard, has been caught in an undercover sting operation sending sexually explicit messages to an undercover detective posing as a teenage boy. You were involved in security for the Israeli leader Netanyahu, and now you're caught in a sexting operation. And my oh my, what is the deal with all these sex offenders? You see the map of Israel, a map of registered sex offenders living in Israel. Israel also has been proven to have bought MAGA. Shrink this down a little bit again. I thought it was Make America Great Again, but turns out it's actually Make Israel Great Again. Israel bought MAGA. Israel bought some of MAGA's most influential voices, which is how America First turned into Israel First. The story should be detonating conservative media right now. A foreign government allegedly paying millions to shape political narratives inside one of the biggest countries on earth. You can see here, Megyn Kelly dropped a bombshell. Trump's former campaign manager and current Salem media exec registered a foreign agent for Israel last September. His contract between $6 and $9 million to build digital campaigns combating anti-Semitism.
That Brad Parscale, who is senior executive at Salem Media and has his own AI company, had to register as a foreign agent for Israel. Same situation. This is from The Hill, September 30th, 2025. Does that date sound familiar? It's all happening. It was the Unleashed last September. Parscale, this is according to The Hill, Parscale has registered as a foreign agent for Israel, hired to create digital campaigns combating anti-Semitism in a contract worth $6 million. By the way, I've also read it's $9 million. According to his contract, his company is hired to create content where at least 80% is tailored to Gen Z audiences across platforms, including TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, podcasts, and other relevant digital and broadcast outlets. Axios also reporting that Parscale, a top aide on President Trump's first two campaigns, registered as a foreign agent to work on Israel's behalf and create digital media combating anti-Semitism. Now,
just keep in mind, you can completely take over almost any e-celebrity's chat for like a $20 super chat. They'll read anything you want. You put in $20 and all these e-celebs will read your fucking super chat. You give me $9 million to get these e-celebrities to pump whatever propaganda you want. You could completely change online discourse across a shit ton of these people. I mean, how much does it even cost to buy off a Tim Pool? 10 grand? You know what I mean? Like, probably. I mean, it's probably less than that. You could probably get Tim Pool to do whatever you ask him for like 5 grand. How many influencers can you buy with $9 million? PsyOps. All MAGA influencers are paid and they coordinate their messaging via a group chat. Ashley St. Clair is burning down the MAGA facade.
So last week, I told you guys that all of MAGA is paid and they coordinate their messaging in lockstep via group chats. And what do you know? All of these people came to the conclusion that after they saw what happened at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, their first thought was all independently, Trump needs his ballroom. The statistical likelihood of this happening in a vacuum, if we are to stipulate that these people are not coordinated, the statistical likelihood of this happening, that they all came to the same conclusion, not probable, okay? I think it's also important to note that one of the main group chats in which they coordinate this messaging is literally called Fight, Fight, Fight after the attempt on Trump's life in Butler. Okay, and this has the official Trump War Room, members of the administration, including James Blair, and all your favorite MAGA influencers. And I would log on and show you more of these messages, but I can't log on to Twitter because they're suing me for $75,000.
Well, you shouldn't have fucked Elon Musk then. But hey, guys, it's the Bolsheviks. These two right here on screen should have to be registered as foreign agents. Jack Posobiec and Laura Loomer. How are they not registered as foreign agents at this point? Here's a Loomer gem from Laura Loomer. Milo is so funny. He puts this in a frame. This is like the tweet by Hillary Clinton where she's like saying happy birthday to this future president. It's a picture of herself. That's a frame-worthy thing. Or when Donald Trump tweeted out, I've never seen a skinny person drinking Diet Pepsi or whatever. These are some of the internet gems thanks to Twitter. Here we have Laura Loomer. I've never undergone any facial surgery. People are just jealous of me. Yeah, right. She's the first person to ever undergo facial surgery to look more Jewish somehow. Come on. And then instantly disproving all of this. From Laura Loomer, I instantly became much happier when I got my nose done. It transformed my life. So, and one thing she's like, never had facial surgery, but also had facial surgery. Not that it matters, it's just funny. A New York Times investigation found Israel ran a coordinated multi-year campaign to influence Eurovision results. Israel spent at least $1 million on Eurovision marketing, including over $800,000 in ads around the 2024 Malmo contest, partially funded by Netanyahu. So there you go. They're buying all types of stuff, all types of influence. They're just spreading their money around. They have so much money to spend on buying all of this influence, yet somehow our tax money still has to go to Israel. They're still desperate for those U.S. tax dollars. And without it, they would cease to be able to exist. Yet somehow they have all of this money to throw around and influence, countless different ways. Now let's get on to another complete shill. I've outed this guy countless times. Nick Fuentes is 100% a shill. There's no way this dude was as involved in January 6th as he was and didn't serve a day in jail if he's not some sort of Fed psyop. Okay? On top of that, he's also thrown a woman down the steps of his house. He's helped Baked Alaska bring in Catboy Cammy, who is a pedophile that tried to groom underage girls on Omegle while being live on YouTube. That Catboy Cammy, that one, the one I reported with the links to that stuff to the Arizona State Police. And what did they do? Nothing. They were like, oh yeah, this is hard evidence. We'll get back to you. We're investigating this. Next thing I know, nothing. They never did anything. Baked Alaska then went tearing across the country, macing people. And then somehow he ended up at January 6th as well with Nick Fuentes. And neither one of them, well, I guess Baked spent some time in jail, right? But Nick Fuentes, somehow one of the leaders of January 6th, along with Alex Jones, Roger Stone, and the pedophile friend of Nick Fuentes, Ali Akbar, none of them somehow spent even a minute in jail. But, Grandma, who strolled into the White House or the Capitol building that day, she got sentenced to isolated confinement in hell. I mean, it's completely unbelievable. There's tons of J6ers who were sentenced to all types of ridiculous stuff, spent time in isolated custody, yet somehow this FAG didn't spend a fucking second there, even though he was one of the main organizers. And once again, this is all IIA, Interactive Internet Activities Group, which was exposed in the ShadowNet documentary by Millie Weaver, where, Patrick Berge identified these guys as, since the 2012 NDAA was signed by Obama, since 2012, these people have been allowed to propagandize American citizens on behalf of shady deep state interests. And since 2012, you have the rise of all these e-celebrity retards like this one on screen that are complete F-slurs.
Democrat. I think the GOP needs to be destroyed. I think the corrupt criminal government of Trump needs to be slowed down. We need to impeach the orange. It's time to put this nigga in a peach. Trump needs to be placed inside of a crystal. He needs to be impeached. This fat orange Tiny Hands needs to be impeached. And then in 28, no Vance, no Rubio. We have to burn down the whole party.
There he is, the liberal Nick Fuentes. Always been one. The guy's from Chicago. All of his family members are liberals, including his sister, right? Is this any surprise to anyone that this guy's been disingenuous the entire time? It's just, he's gay. The reason they let people like Nick Fuentes have an audience is they control them with sexual blackmail, just like they controlled mainstream media people. Someone in the chat earlier when I started the show was like, Titus, how do you not have 1 million followers already? Why? Because they don't have this type of blackmail on me. There's no way to control me. Okay? They don't let people like me gain a large audience online because I'm not controllable. There's no blackmail to use on me. So they can't trust me to have a large audience. So they use all the different tactics possible to censor people like me. And then they amplify people like Nick Fuentes because he's a sexual deviant of which they have blackmail on. Fuentes being outed. I'm so tired of being right, says Milo. You guys trusted a guy who's clearly gay, hung out with cat boys, and has now come out as a moderate Democrat. You were played by Nick Fuentes, and you still will support him despite knowing this information. Nick Fuentes is a Fed. Nick Fuentes is a liar. Fuentes shares the same dream as Israel. He just says it with sass and attitude, but he's speaking its inevitability in the same way as the Israelis. Nicholas Fuentes was worth every nickel for them. He really delivers. Zero alternatives, zero solutions. Just give Nick more money and more views.
They're going to topple Iran, and once they do, Israel's going to become a very rich country.
I love this guy. I love this guy. We're gonna topple Syria and Iran. True. Control Gaza and the West Bank, Judea and Samaria. You're right. Absolutely. I can't disagree with that. Good.
They're going to have the sovereign wealth funds of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, pouring all their oil money into Israel.
This is sounding great. This guy's great, okay? I don't know about this control of media business. That sounds like classic anti-Semitism, but this vision of a big, powerful Israel and the Arabs in line with that, I like that a lot. I like the sound of that. That you're making me want to win all these wars even more.
Israel's going to get all this money from the trade that goes through the Rimland.
You're right, bro. You're right. It looks like the Lord made us a nation that dwells alone morally, but in terms of human history, we're at the heart of the crossroads of civilizations. And you're absolutely right. We're going to benefit through that. That's right. That's what God's plan is.
All the trade from India to Europe, China to Europe, all the trade that goes through the Suez, the Persian Gulf, all the trade that goes overland through the Middle East, they're going to collect a toll on all that.
Sounds nice. Where's your proof that that's a bad thing? Like, have you read the Bible, or are you too Catholic for the...
This is what I'm talking about when I say the Belt and Road Initiative, the reshaping of the West, the shifting the power to the East by Henry Kissinger. This was always the plan. Now they're admitting it. The Belt and Road Initiative, making Israel the center of trade and technology for the entire Eurasian supercontinent. Now they're just openly admitting it. People like Nick Fuentes, who they control, is pushing it. This is how things happen.
Bible. What's the deal? Like, okay, I mean, I love your assessment. I love it. It's fabulous. It's good. It's good for the world. You're making me happy. You're making this settler you're making my day, man. You're making my holiday coming up. But where's but you're saying all this stuff in some kind of conclusory language that this is a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's God's plan. It's historical plan. And Israel has every right to sit in the crossroads and extend its defense to the Arab countries and to this region. You're right. From the Indian Sea to the Persian Gulf to the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aqaba and the Gulf of Suez and the Mediterranean. You're right. We're going to have a lot of power and control of that, and it's going to be good for the world.
The gravity of how much power the Jews wield in the world today and how much more power they'll wield when they're finished with what they're doing in the Middle East.
Can I hire you as my PR agent, bro? You are just fabulous. Nick, you are like, I don't know, and your cute little punim, your little Shayna punim, your little facey, your little baby face. It just does a great job. If you weren't just such a, if you didn't have all these other issues, you'd be a great PR dude on our side. You know, guys like this, you never know. He might switch. He might flip at some point because he's a thinking guy, but he's also, he's powerful inside. He may come to different conclusions suddenly. I could see that. I hope he does, because all the stuff that you said, especially about Israel and the Middle East, is right, and hopefully will come to fruition. And I don't think there's anything bad in that. Let's let Nick finish off.
You thought we couldn't stop them before? Wait until they don't need us.
Touché! We don't need you. We don't need you.
He's 18, not good at anything, media trained and super duper gay. His message is white victim consciousness, sexually immoral Catholicism, and sassy sarcasm when any actual solution is presented. He's never arrested despite committing felonies. All of his persecution is fake. So this is how they build people like this up, give them an audience, etc. He gets silenced, but then he gets featured, oh my God, you were censored? Why don't you come on all these major platforms and all these major podcasts? And we're going to use InfoWars Network to promote you the entire time. When everyone knows Alex Jones is IIA.
Supposed to be entering Boston University for my sophomore year, but in response to recent death threats and threats against my physical safety, I decided that might not be the best idea. When you start receiving death threats to the extent that I have, it just becomes a liability to my brand, to my academic success and everything else when you do have to worry about people ganging up on you or whatever. It's disturbing to me the level of hate that people have been able to express and been able to feel against someone they've never...
He's so persecuted. He's in time. It's just so ridiculous. So Owen was going hard in the paint at Nick. And I was like, Owen, I need you to check this out. Nick Fuentes completely exposed due to surrounded by snowflake pedophiles. I don't say this without evidence. If you guys recall, back in the day, I went through and found all of these dudes surrounding Nick, all these Twitter accounts and stuff like that were using this snowflake emoji in their name or in their tweets. And then when you looked at their accounts and whatnot, what we found was they were all into this lolly stuff, which is like this underage anime crap. It's just, there's been so many pedos surrounding Nick Fuentes, from Elijah Schaeffer, who, was involved with going after underage kids. Nick was told about that. He never distanced himself from Elijah Schaeffer. There was Ali Alexander, Catboy Cammy. Catboy Cammy did it live on YouTube, going after underage girls on Omegle. It's just, there's too many instances of him being surrounded by these pedophile sexual deviants for it to be an accident. Okay? You can go see this BitChute video. It's in the show notes. The show notes are all on hive.blog at Titus Frost. And I'll put them in the description box on this video after the live stream's over. And basically, go watch the BitChute video about Nick Fuentes. It's not hard to find. And you'll see that in that I went through all the evidence of this little pedo cult surrounding Nick. Please get this information and some of my other coverage of Nick Fuentes from days past to people that have a voice like Owen, so that this information can be shared wider, right? And, Owen did a good job of breaking down some of this stuff as well.
So here is a full montage of Nick Fuentes over the years. I am going to make a claim. I'm going to hypothesize that he's at best dog whistling and getting support from pedophiles, and at worst, a pedophile. I can also show you how he got his listeners to get arrested at January 6th and then took the coward's way out. And at the end, I'm going to theorize who's funding him and why. And I'll give a little commentary at the end, but let's get right into it.
You are a gay man who exclusively surrounds himself with other young gay men, many of whom are openly pedophiles.
Based?
Jack sent $5.
And
remember
that's
a super chatter with the name White?
I hear a lot that I don't get the joke or that he's just joking and I don't get it and I'm misrepresenting him. So that's just a start. All right. It's constant support of pedophilia. Now let's start off with a pledge that he got his listeners to take. And before you say it's just a joke, there's something that happens when you hold up your hand and you take a pledge. And if it was just an isolated incident and not all the rest I'm about to show you, I mean, maybe it's a joke, but just wait.
That, because you took the pledge. You took the loyalty pledge. I will kill, rape, and die for Nick Fuentes. Raise your right hand. All right, everybody, raise your right hand. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I will kill, rape, and die for Nicholas J. Fuentes.
Okay, getting young guys to take a pledge to rape, murder, and kill, sketchy. You can't do it sarcastically. This next one, he appears to be inebriated, but now he's talking more about what he demands from his listeners, and he wants to dox hillbillies. For those of you that don't know, hillbillies are rural white Americans. And I know for a fact he actually does this and attacks people. So it's not a joke, it's not sarcasm, because it's actually true.
As long as they are soldiers, look, I don't care how gay they are. As long as they're my loyal cult members that give me money and dox hillbillies when I give the command.
So I know some people are so sick of the establishment and the lies and the mainstream media that they're like, come on, perfect is the enemy of good. He's a Christian. Well, in this next clip, he's going to talk about he's sexualizing Mary and again, pushing pedophilia.
When the Holy Spirit selected Mary, did the Holy Spirit go, let's look for a mature woman that I have something in common with? Did a person of the Trinity go around and say, I need to find one of those mature women that is smart and has common interests and things in common with me? Or did the Holy Spirit go and say, how old was the Virgin Mary? I think she was she wasn't 18, I'll say that much. Certainly wasn't 18. You know what I expect? A fertile womb. A fertile womb and a sort of innocent, childlike spirit. All these people in the chat, dude, just stop. Shut up. Shut up. If you're I'm banning people. If you're telling me to stop, you're gone. Bye. Fuck you. I'm out here free thinking, okay? And if I've got weird sexual interests, and if I'm dropping these red pills on you, you're going to shut up and stop, dude, just stop. Why? What, am I scaring the hoes? Good. Fuck them hoes, okay? Okay? You want to go to the Correct Opinion show? Go watch TV. And you can watch all the Correct Opinions havers tell you about how they want same-aged wives, and they want to talk about their interests, and they want to do normal, not weird things. Okay? Abundant, plenty of 30-year-old fish in the sea for you guys, okay? Because I'm in the shallow end of the pool. Looking for them hoes that can't swim. About Destiny's wife creeping on me.
Okay. Nick Fuentes is an absolute disgusting sexual deviant. Here you can see he shoves this old lady once again. Somehow Nick Fuentes, not a Fed, according to the Groypers, but somehow he's able to get away with legitimate, serious crimes.
Hi. Oh my God! What are you doing?
Get the fuck out of here.
maces someone for being on his doorstep and then shoves her to the ground and steals her phone. That's fucking crazy. Anyone else does this, they go to jail. Okay? That was completely unprovoked. I don't care who the stupid bitch was. That's, completely insane behavior. Here he is endorsing eating McDonald's.
Can we get a fruit/vegetable tier list?
McDonald's is good for you. McDonald's is good. That's high protein. Fruits and vegetables will kill you. Did you see there was a new study? They said that people eating fruits and vegetables are actually more likely to die of cancer because fruits and vegetables are covered in pesticides.
And McDonald's food isn't, you fucking retard. That stuff's all GMO goy slop. Okay? Processed GMO goy slop. Of course, he's pushing that crap on his fans. Top general OnlyFans pimp Clavicular is Jewish and intimately connected with the Israeli mafia. Clav's new club is owned and operated by Hey Wack9, aka Hey Vac9, part of the Abergil crime family in Miami, of course, Florida. And here he is with Nick Fuentes, this clavicular, looks maxing fucking nonsense dude. Clavicular is also a complete sexual deviant and a creep, and he's hooked up with, of course, some dude from the fucking Israeli mafia. Clavicular is Israel's new club lawyer. Hank Wack9 confirms that Clav is Jewish. Not that it matters.
Yeah, well, you're
like, you can be Jewish and be a good person, but when you're constantly out there trying to be like, oh, I'm one of these groiper anti-Semites, but you're Jewish, it's completely ridiculous.
American.
Yeah.
What does that mean? He's
So
Jewish.
you probably don't.
You're Jewish. Like, what? Yeah.
What does that mean? He's
So
Jewish.
you probably don't.
You're Jewish. Like,
Yeah, well, you're
But no, he's a alpha Chad, and he's, anti-Jewish and all this crap. Right. Looks maxing influencer Clavicular sued by then 16-year-old influencer for unconscious, non-consensual sex under excessive alcohol influence. Also accused of injecting her face with Aqualix, claiming it contained methamphetamine. His legal team is denying the allegations, yet here he is with her. If he's so handsome, why isn't he with girls that are like over 18? What, he can't pull girls that are over 18? Or is it that this dude is a sexual deviant and another one of these creepy pedophiles, which is why Clavicular has been allowed to become famous online, like all these celebrities, every one of these people that just happened to pop up out of nowhere, every last one of them, just like mainstream media was controlled for years and years and years because they were all sexual deviants, and you were only allowed to become famous in mainstream media. Well, alt media is the new mainstream media. It's just cheaper for them to run. And now every one of these people that becomes famous, just turns out they're a sexual deviant as well. This dude was fucking unconscious 16-year-olds and drugging them up with methamphetamine, allegedly. And who was he buddies with? Who was Nick Fuentes buddies with? Oh yeah, Elijah Schaeffer, another one of these complete cunts, who, according to No More News Adam Green, has aura. Okay, let's take a look at this dude's aura. There's no denying it. According to Adam Green, who pushes the same bullshit that, the Israelis push, which is, Jesus was Jewish, actually. No, Jesus was white. There's plenty of evidence to suggest Jesus was a white guy, from the fact the Bible itself says the Nazarenes were whiter than snow. But hey, let's not get into that. Let's go check out this dude that Adam Green says has aura.
Person cross me. You cross me, I'm going to fuck you the fuck up. And I already have a list of people and I'm going to go one by one, and I'm going to fuck your shit up. I'm going to fuck the living shit out of your fucking stupid ass little lives, okay? And not incriminate myself. I'm not going to tell you who's on that list, but over the next several years, it could be 5 years from now, your shit's going to get fucking rocked, okay?
Yeah, and
your shit's going to get rocked, and like I'm telling you, like one person who crossed me, I got their baby daddy to kick them out of the house and break up with them because they crossed me. I will fuck you. I will ruin your life for crossing me. And I'm sorry I didn't get even with people. And you might not know it's me. You might not know it's me. And if I do a good job, you won't know it's me. But your shit's going to get fucked up. And I'm going to make sure that it hurts. Okay? I'm going to make sure that it's painful.
Keep in mind, this Elijah Schaeffer dude is currently living in some Australian man's like apartment. And that Australian man takes regular trips to Thailand, is it? To fuck ladyboys, according to people on the internet, allegedly. Allegedly, he lives with a guy that goes to Thailand to fuck ladyboys regularly. And allegedly, Elijah Schaeffer, who said this himself, had some sort of weird pastor thing where he was sleeping with underage boys while he was a youth pastor. But hey, you know, totally normal guy who's naturally blonde. He's such an Aryan Chad that he's naturally blonde. He had to dye his hair brown in the past. That's why he had brown hair before, and now has blonde hair, because that's another one of his total not lies.
Of course, talking about hypothetically here, of course, we're talking about in the legal bounds. We're not legal. Talking about legal stuff here.
Yeah.
But I'm going to get back at every one of you. Vengeance is mine, says the Lord. And you know what? I give the vengeance to him, but I believe in justice. And I'm not going to get revenge. I'm going to get justice. I'm not getting even. I'm going to make you feel what you tried to feel, make me feel. And you're not going to like it. And you're a weaker person than me. You're a fucking pieces of shit. You're a bunch of bitches. And you're going to pay the price for what you've done.
Don't hold your breath, because this vengeance could take up to 5 years.
If you want to do it in court, we can do it in court. And some of you will be in court. And some of you will be out of court. And some of you will have no idea why shit's just getting so messed up in your personal life or what's going on. And I just want you to remember what you did to me. And I want you to remember that I've never not gotten even with someone in a way that people don't talk to me. You know why a lot of people from my past don't talk shit on me?
The teen pastor stuff. You know, like, you dyed your hair blonde, you're singing weird songs to your kids. I don't know. Like, there's a whole bunch of reasons. Pod Awful has been covering this guy and just demolishing him lately. Very funny stuff. Highly recommend you go watch it.
Because their lives are worse off for attacking me. And I think I'm going in that direction. I'm going in that direction.
And it's nice because
none of these people who sue people over this internet stuff ever win the lawsuit. Ever. Every one of these turns into a lolsuit. No one ever wins those things except the lawyers who get paid regardless. It's all a bunch of bullshit. Maddox tried suing people. No one ever wins these things. It never goes anywhere. All these internet lolsuits never fucking amount to anything except legal bills. Speaking of that, I was recently threatened with a lolsuit against me by none other than Tere Joyce, who has no money, has no income, and couldn't possibly show damages in 6 million years. You can't sue someone for defamation and claim they've hurt you financially when you have no finances. What are you going to claim in court as your damages? Oh, he damaged my nothing? It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely insane. Okay, and at the same time, she's out there defaming people, blatantly defaming people with defamation per se nonsense, and then she threatens to sue them at the same time. It's absolutely schizophrenic behavior, probably because she smokes too much weed. Maybe she should put down the weed and get a fucking clue. Tere Joyce Lestat, the domestic terrorist who doesn't even live in our country. She's calling this dude a domestic terrorist even if he doesn't live in the United States. How does that work exactly? Oh my God. So she calls Lestat a domestic terrorist from another country screwing with the US. Wouldn't that be a foreign terrorist? I'm just saying, like, how does journalism work? Hi, I'm the news. I'm the news. I have a journalism degree.
Opinion. Apparently, we care about like his opinion, but really, he's pretty much a nobody other than the fact that he is basically a domestic terrorist from another country screwing with the United States. But whatever.
Whatever. Oh my God. And I said she wasn't funny. She actually is kind of funny. When she attempts to do journalism, it's always hilarious. Terry's been making all types of claims about myself, okay? Including regards to a redacted thing that I did regarding a situation at the southern border. And I'm just going to read you something here about that. So she's claiming that I'm a domestic terrorist because I told people to go to the border and stop child traffickers. Okay, which I later redacted, by the way. But she's made these claims countless times to smear my public reputation. So while you can publicly criticize or highlight a journalist's retracted story, attempting to smear them intentionally, spreading malicious falsehoods, risks legal action for defamation. A retraction is a public admission of error, often making the mistake a matter of public record that can be scrutinized, but maliciously attacking the reputation is different from factual criticism. And she has gone so far beyond factual criticism, it's blatant smearing of my reputation. And then she goes, "Oh, I'm going to sue you." If she ever was stupid enough to do that, I would immediately put a retainer on a lawyer because I actually have the ability to do that. I have finances capable of hiring a lawyer. I would not only defeat her in court, I would then countersue the living shit out of her, and she will be paying me for the rest of her fucking life because she has no money, and I will garnish any wages she has, and then I will take the issue up to wherever she's working, wherever she's, at student at whatever. I've never done anything to this stupid bitch other than laugh at her online. She claims that I have something to do with QAnon Sec publishing cartoons about her. I'm not in charge of the QAnon Sec website, you dumb bitch. That's some other dude named Chris McGimpsey Jones. All I do is post under that hashtag. Doesn't mean I run the website. Doesn't mean I'm making cartoons. But you've made all of these claims, which are blatant defamation, and I have them archived because that's how you present things in court. You don't show screenshots in court because those can be altered. You actually have to have the stuff archived. So all of these defamation claims about myself that she has made over the years have been archived. I've also archived the things that she's amplified that led me to contact Scotland Yard in the UK to stop an individual in the UK from making these claims because he was criminally harassing and stalking me. And I contacted Scotland Yard about that, and I had a criminal case going against that person, and she has continued to amplify those claims. All of this is going to be used against her if she's ever stupid enough to fucking try anything legally against me, because she's a fucking moron. And on top of that, oh God, it's so ridiculous. It's just, I don't even know how to address all this nonsense from her. She's made unbelievable claims about myself that are completely not true at all. For instance, she claims that, I'm somehow responsible for some dumb fucking weirdo in Texas named Denise Matteau who fucking called her shit and all this crap. not only was I against that happening, I fucking went online after I heard about this and told Denise Matteau that she should get off the internet and go fucking quilt, and that she shouldn't be making online content or doing any of these things. I'm not responsible for anything anyone else does at all, nor have I had anything to do with them doing these things, because I don't believe in doing that type of crap. I believe in making fun of you online through my very public accounts that you know exactly which are mine because they're all branded Titus Frost, so that anyone who wants to know what I'm up to can go and be like, oh, Titus said this, Titus said that. It's very obvious what my online activity is because it's all me. It's Titus Frost. Okay? I don't believe in calling people's places of employment or any of that shit. But if someone were to legally come after me, I would fucking do everything I can to ruin their lives permanently. Okay? And people like, the OG1 character in England, he got reported to the authorities over there. And oh, weird, he's no longer making content. Fucking Freddie, the guy who lived in British Columbia. Oh, that's right. I was preparing a lawsuit against him for criminal harassment. And turns out he's gone from the internet now too. Those are the only two people I've had to go that far with. And both of them don't make content anymore. Weird. I wonder why. Maybe because I know what I'm doing and you clowns don't. Meanwhile, I'm allowed to criticize Tere Joyce. She's a public figure. She makes shit comedy. So I made this very comedic response to her because I think she's a horrible comedian. And that's my opinion. I'm allowed to have it. Comedy is subjective. If you find someone is shit at comedy, you're allowed to make fun of them. It's called heckling a comedian. It's an age-old thing. And her comedy is shit. It's absolutely garbage. It's not funny at all. And with that being said, here is the video to end tonight's show where we can all laugh at how bad Tere Joyce is at stand-up comedy. This is Tere Joyce Comedy, Sam Hyde Female Comedy School Dropout. And with that, I end the show. Enjoy this, and I'll see you guys all on the next live.
Sam Hyde School of Female Comedy, you're going to learn how to improv, how to act with your body, how to project your voice over those annoying frat douche bros, how to craft a punchline, and how to time it. Just try. Oh, that sounds like an amazing value. But don't take it from me. Let's hear from some of our dumb
I give myself permission to fail. I'm still a wonderful person. It's okay that guys sleep with me and don't call me the next day. I'm not really gay. I'm willing to try, but that doesn't really make me a lesbian. I'm sorry, I have to have a drink now because, I'm an alcoholic.
Pretty good, right? Perfect. Almost funny. Now let's hear from a few of our
I'm kind of into conspiracies too. Do you guys ever are you anybody into conspiracies here? Yeah. Don't you love Bigfoot? Yeah. You know he has big feet. He Let me go find out. I know the reptilian conspiracy, some people think that they're like reptilians, yeah. Yeah, I had a boyfriend once, and he goes, yeah, I'm from an Illuminati family, and, I'm a reptilian, and I'm not the only one you've been with. And I'm like, what? Am I the whore for the reptilians? Just kidding. You don't have to buy me dinner. What is going on here? I'm like, reptilians, the other white meat.
Do my little ears deceive me? Or is that a female comedian I hear?
Yo, be funny, bitch.
I actually want to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm actually half Mexican, half poor white trash. And, so I guess I'm Hispanic white. And I came out really wild looking, like people, they don't believe me. They go, oh, I'm so sure. What part of you is Mexican? And I go, my left boob, because it's the bigger one. It's like, there it is. I found that I was Mexican when everybody called my father Senor Caliente. My mom called him the gardener. I guess because he trimmed her bushes.
But being half Mexican, I really love Latino men.
Female comedy is a competitive and fast-paced environment. You've got to be original and innovative to strike it big in this growing field of amazing talent. You've got to do characters and silly voices too, such as my patented British woman, who you may not even have realized you were listening to.